is, here we go, Accursed Farms. Ross Scott had posted, Anthem is now dead. I've heard it might have been very salvageable if it wasn't for the use of de novo, which for anybody that doesn't know is a whole restrictive anti-cheat, anti-theft system sort of thing, mostly used on PC. You'll see it listed in Steam games and everything like that. And they do put it in there. You can just check a little bit more in the details. They have it listed there. And says SKG is obviously too slow to save it, which is stop killing games. But we're building more and more legal attention to this practice. It's ridiculous this happens to begin with. And I'd definitely say look into what Ross Scott has been doing over on Accursed Farms. The Accursed Farms is his YouTube channel as well. You can find it all. He's been talking about it for quite a while about stop killing games. He has a video on it. And I know we have talked about it in previous podcasts of Saturday Night Sith. So you can find that there as well. So that has been a big issue with all of this. And I even did see, I felt like they kind of was weirdly taking a interesting kind of a shot, or at least a weird shot in a way, especially with the titling here from Forbes. Oh, piss off. No thanks. But a final goodbye to Anthem, 30% of a fantastic game. It's like almost like a backhanded like compliment there, but even they do detail here. Article by Paul Tassi. Anthem is dead for the fifth time at least. Many would have called it dead on arrival, with disastrous early technical issues and a litany of bugs. A second apparent death followed it with its high 50s Metacritic score as reviews came in, along with fairly fast player drop off, as many realized this isn't what they wanted. I wouldn't even say it wasn't even what people didn't want. The problem, which I guess no, that is true. The thing is that this wasn't as big of a not a bait and switch, but it's certainly bait from Bioware in terms of what how they represented the game through their gameplay trailers and stuff like that. And I think some things did remain true, like some of the flight combat or the flight around the maps and stuff like that. But it was then the rest of the world that was severely diminished. It was basically, as I recall, Ubisoft levels of where it's looking so grandiose and so full and everything like that, and then it's so scaled down on release. So what people were expecting was, a much more vibrant game and much more of, again, and it's been a while since I saw that initial like gameplay trailer from them, but it was promising a lot. But even for me at this time, and I was already, for myself personally, on the out of being like, you know what, Bioware, I think I'm kind of slowly but surely losing my interest with you guys. I love you, but it was a drop off for me for sure. So I know I was very hesitant, and I waited to see gameplay video, like actual released gameplay video, and just gameplay video too, because that's what I'll do usually, is I'll look for just gameplay video and see what's up, see the game in its raw form, no commentary from a player or reviewer or whatever, just to get an idea, And it was sad to see. Bioware was following now this whole thing, and you could blame, and I'm sure people will blame more EA, which they are certainly just as equally to blame. But I put them both, they're both equally in the same camp. And so, yes, you could say EA with overbearing demands for them to get this, and done out at this time, such. But there could always be a give and take between the two, and I'll look at them as Bioware as being just as complicit. So anyway, its third death came after Cataclysm, its only major expansion, when we soon learned that no more of those would follow, and seasons would arrive that were largely remixed versions of existing content. The fourth death was the decision that EA and Bioware would not attempt a grand 2.0 rework of the entire game, mirroring some of the studios that had been able to fix fix what ailed their poor launches of potentially great games. Fifth death is today. After years of zero content and close to zero players, Anthem will finally be taken offline. Its servers down. You simply cannot play at all, which wasn't the case until now. Some logged in for a final few flights, but many others weren't even allowed to reinstall the game. Wow. Anthem is talked about as having more potential than other games. You don't hear that about many other famous flops. Your Lawbreakers, Marvel's Avengers, your Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Okay, come on. Basically for Suicide Squad, that was in the name. They did it to themselves with their own storyline, their completely paused storyline, killing basically the Arkham universe Batman the way that they did. And I know, what was it? They tried to retcon and walk some of the things back with they were all like clones or something. Like, no, you only did that just to try and salvage and save your own behinds. There was nothing true about all that. Don't give me that crap. But yeah, so as I say, but Anthem, it felt like there was a spark there buried deep. It was kindled occasionally, but Bioware was in no way ready to rise to this challenge. Though earlier than some, they were still 5 years late to the launch of Destiny, the game it hoped to emulate, and even 2 years past Destiny 2. It was a trend we saw before and have since, a dedicated single-player studio attempting to pivot to live service multiplayer. So it almost never goes well, from failed launches to canceled projects. Idea here was that it would be a live looter shooter with the kind of story campaign Bioware players had come to expect. It was close to that in what felt like a fraction of a campaign at best, with practically nothing added to it after the fact as Bioware scrambled to fix bugs, loot, and an entire missing endgame instead. Well, I mean, even if I remember right, even Destiny 1 had a missing end game, or it was just it kind of, as I remember too, it kind of abruptly ended and felt very much tacked to then, now comes our DLC expansions and what have you. So I mean, hey, Bioware was following suit. It should have been pretty clear they were not up to this when they missed almost every promised update on their first roadmap, which honestly, this doesn't surprise me, because for any of you poor souls that got into Star Wars The Old Republic, Bioware and the team, and I'm going to call this like the Peter Molyneux syndrome, that they really wanted, I believe they really wanted to get a lot done with the game, legitimately, but sadly they overpromised and they did not know time management and also probably team management to get that stuff done. Because Lord have mercy, do I remember them talking about on one of their little cantina things that they did, where they brought the fan base to they had invites for, I guess, certain like fan groups and stuff like that were part of the game, and to talk about what people would like to see, what they had planned for the either the user interface and stuff like that. But they talked about early on getting players getting different ships, getting the ability to hide your hood or put down the hood of your clothing and just stuff like that. And I mean, it's just been to this day, I think they still don't have a toggle for it. It is just you have to get two different tops for hood up or hood down. But it's been a while since I've jumped into that game, so you could correct me if you need to. But that was what I always remember. What I remember the case being for the time. So this honestly does not surprise me, sadly. But I wish BioWare had their shit a little more together. I do, because I love their games. I really did. Anyway, where was the potential then? Almost exclusively centered on gameplay, albeit even that took several updates to get where it needed to be. Without question, the nostalgia for the game revolves around its Iron Man flight system, where I can remember clicking the joystick to shift into rocket mode to this day. This was hamstrung by an irritating heat building system that would send you falling too often, but that was fixed eventually. Another strength were the javelins that the actual classes of the game were where combat and eventually build crafting after a number of loot changes was actually fun, added a genre best cosmetic system that allowed even material changes, armor pieces, javelins, knitting, approaching something like Destiny or Diablo. It's just the rest of the game wasn't. None of it was enough. The positives was that I'd say about 30% of a great game, and given I kind of took half a decade to feel clear it was never going to get the finish line. Pretty quickly, large chunks of Bioware moved over to Dragon Age 4. Oof. And we all know how that went. Unlike other studios that were wholly committed to their live service offerings, Bioware never was much past launch. And I mean, that was even again, part of the problem with the Old Republic, you know, sadly, because a lot of us wanted more content, more storylines, but they kept trying to keep people preoccupied with PvP seasons and stuff like that. But it's like, but we're here for the story. And then the stories that they did release were just mid at best. They were just okay. McKeb, I think, was the first one, and it wasn't bad, but again, it was just okay. And they slowly but surely tuned it towards solely solo play, which was unfortunate because my brother and I, we did so much of the early first 1 through 3 chapters together, and the fun was he and I would just stick together and always see each other's scenes and stuff like that. And then with flashpoints, got that interaction. So we still kind of hoped for stuff like that, but there wasn't, and it just came completely solo. And I mean, like, yeah, you could have given us like our own separate dialogues and everything like that, but it just didn't stick. So final idea that Anthem could be saved with 2.0 update was never realistic. First, this was EA we were talking about, not exactly a company looking to throw more money into something clearly resembling a pit. Second, even as one of the game's most avid players and certainly its most dedicated journalist, I could not see it working. There was too much to add. There was no way to draw back the kind of audience needed. Perceptions were largely set in stone by that point. As for servers coming offline today, it's a rather arbitrary moment. Dead Anthem won't be much different from a live Anthem in its current state over the last few years. This understandably raises questions about paid video games and the ability to keep playing them indefinitely, but this is the world now and it won't change. Well, I mean, you say that, but again, back to Ross Scott, he's been making a lot of push, and I think they've been making some ground on at least the like UK European side. And I mean, if that can just kind of, and he hates it, and we all kind of dislike the whole like forcing the government's hand in this. It's just, sadly, there's certain courses to take, and it gets the law and everything involved. But last I knew, they were making some good headway on that front. So who knows what could happen? Live service games could alter. I think that could be me being a little naive and hopeful, but I could see it being so, because I mean, a lot of times these live service games, they require a lot of time and attention. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. And that maybe people, and with things like, and I've heard mixed things, but what was it? The Expedition 33 has been quite successful, and that's in the single player realm. Even things, what is the Dark Souls? Why am I forgetting these names now? It's like any other time I'll remember certain things just fine, and this is the one time that I'm just like, shoot. Anyway, I was gonna bring it up just to try and remember, because it's like, let me just try and, because I gotta remember it now. Dang it! Elden Ring. That was it. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you. Much appreciated. Chat coming in clutch. All right, but yeah. So you know, there is still a strong pool for single player games, I do believe. And if there are more stronger single player games that draws people in, that could help change things. So I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying it has the possibility. So saying I did I did enjoy much of my time in Anthem, more than most, but however much potential it had, it did not have the developer or the publisher or the audience. Son, I got you, bro. Appreciate it, man. So, you know, here's the thing. And kind of like it is, I'm going to be playing an emulated server game, Star Wars Galaxies, in a little bit. That got, and I don't see EA doing this, but surprisingly enough, that was a situation where Star Wars Galaxies, a live service game, $15 a month to play monthly, or to keep that monthly thing going, much like SUTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic, at least when it first launched. But when that died, they was a Sony Online Entertainment. They released it effectively, the baseline code and was like, for any of you out there, you can take on this project. You just had to build it from the ground up, though. Like, they got the worlds and everything like that, but they still had to recode the game, get the balancing all set up, redo the classes, and really start from ground zero. But I mean, with a passionate enough fan base, they were allowed to do so. Who knows? Maybe if there is a dedicated and passionate enough group for Anthem, they could maybe do some potentially emulated servers. I mean, I see vanilla WoW servers out, World of Warcraft servers out there. And I mean, I know there was a group trying to do an emulated server for the Matrix Online, which I know for like people like my brother, that was a deeply loved game, but sadly just not the same dedicated fan base as something like a Star Wars The Old Republic, Star Wars Galaxies, into Star Wars in general, and for World of Warcraft, for people wanting those emulated, wanting those actual classic servers. So who knows? There could be a bit of a future for this with it being shut down, but then again, that again comes down to EA, Bioware, and what is to be allowed. It just might have to be more on a little hush hush. So that is that. Although I did have one more thing just to, I mean, this is, I think, to be expected. We already got the confirmation, certainly with the Forbes article and with the like Ross Scott had what you call it, PC Gamer, but you know, on X, Twitter, whatever, there is the account Does It Play, and they usually take stock of games that can play offline. Anthem, PS4. Does it play offline? No. Does it require a download? Yes. RIP, no offline mode, and the servers have been shuttered for good. So that is the unfortunate thing there. Like I said, who knows? Maybe through emulation you could see a return, but for now, as old McCoy would say, it's dead, Jim.